Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Chef Pam and this is Chef and More. And today we are going to be making an all-time classic, apple pie. Yes! And if you want to learn how to make all kind of homemade food and dishes, the easy and simple way, subscribe so that you won't miss any of my videos. And tap that bell so you'll always be notified. We're going to get started right now. Okay guys, starting with our pie crust, we have about 2 cups of flour. We're going to add to that about a tablespoon of sugar. This is organic cane juice sugar that I'm using. You can use regular sugar if you like. And to that, we're adding about a teaspoon of salt. Now I'm going to mix this all together, and I have a whisk here. I like to use the whisk because it helps in sifting the flour. So you don't need a sifter, you can just use a whisk. Okay, now guys, I'm going to actually grate in my butter. To this flour, we're going to add about 1.5 sticks of butter, and we're going to also add about 1 ounce of shortening. I like to grate my butter in, it just is a little bit easier, and from there I'm going to go ahead and cut it into the flour. Now I'm going to be using a pastry cutter to do that with, but by all means you can simply just use a fork if you don't have a pastry cutter. Okay, so I'm going to finish grating all this butter into my flour, and now we're just about ready to go ahead and use our pastry cutter and get this all combined into like pea-sized little pieces. You want your flour and your butter to be in pea-sized little pieces. All right, guys, I'm going to put in my shortening. Then we're going to just cut it all in together using the pastry cutter. And like I said, if you don't have a pastry cutter, go ahead and just use a fork. Okay, so we're done here, and as you can see, it's all in pea-sized little pieces, coarse pieces. All right, so now guys, we're going to be adding water to it. You just want to add just enough water to your dough to make it come together, and from there we will knead it into a soft dough. So I'm adding probably about just a teaspoon or so of water each time. It's cold water. You kind of want to work with cold water, cold butter when you're making pie crust. And again, I'm just going to keep adding a little bit at a time until it starts to come together. And you want it to be sticky to your hand, so I'm just feeling to see how sticky it is. Going to add a little bit more water in there because it's not quite sticky enough for me yet. Okay, we are done here, and it has come together just enough. Okay, so I'm going to spread some flour on my countertop. You can use whatever surface you have. And from there, I'm going to just pretty much dump it all out, and we're going to knead it until it forms a soft dough. All right, so just go ahead and dump it all out there and get in there. And in the beginning, guys, you're going to have to just push it together with your hands. push it together, you will feel that the softness and the wetness will make the dough start to stick together, and that's what you want. Then you can start to knead it all together. It should start sticking together and forming a soft ball. Now that the ball is soft and doughy, we're going to separate it into 2 pieces, and from there we'll knead it a little bit more and form it into a flat disc. We're going to put both of these flat discs into some saran wrap, and we're going to put it into the freezer for an hour or 2. All right, guys, let's get this all wrapped up in our saran wrap, and then we'll make the other disc, get it wrapped up, and let them sit in the refrigerator for at least an hour or 2, all the way up to overnight. So this is definitely a do-ahead part of making a pie. If you know you're going to want a pie, you can leave these discs in the refrigerator for about a day. I wouldn't leave it in the refrigerator for more than a day. I'd probably freeze it at that point if I was going to have it on hand. Okay, so we've got both of our discs made, and into the refrigerator they go. All right, guys, now for our pie dish. I like to put butter on my pie dish, and after I get this butter on, it's going back into the refrigerator. You need to keep everything cold. So I'm going to spread it over here. I melted it so it spread easy, then back into the refrigerator. This just ensures that when you cut your pie, it comes out of the dish clean and easy. Okay, now our dough has come out of the refrigerator, and it's time to roll it out so that we can get our pie all made. Okay, so now my bottom half is just a little bit larger than the top half of my dough. So I didn't equally separate the disc. I made one just a little bit larger. So we're going to work with that larger piece first because it's going in the bottom of the pie pan. Okay, so I spread more flour onto my work surface. I'm just going to put a little of this flour right on top so that my rolling pin will glide across it easy without sticking to it. So you just want to keep rolling it, move your rolling pin around into a circle so that you can form the dough into a circle as well. And guys, at any point in time, if you feel like your rolling pin is kind of sticking to the dough, just put a little bit more flour on top and keep rolling. Just keep rolling it out until you have a circle that's larger than your pan. You want to invert the pan and just hold it over the top to make sure that the dough is larger. Then we're going to take the edge of the dough that's closest to you, rolling away from you, and roll it up onto the rolling pin. This is the easiest way by far to get this dough into your pie pan. And I am just pushing flour underneath it a little bit. It helps it to release from the countertop. Just keep pushing a little bit of the dough as you roll it up under the bottom so that it will continue to roll off of your work surface clean and smooth. All right, guys, there we have our bottom dough rolled up on it. We're going to put it on the pie pan. Okay, just move some of this flour out of the way off of our work surface. Then we can go ahead and put our pie crust into the pie dish. Okay, now here you just want to roll it backwards, going towards yourself. Start at the edge and just unroll it, going towards wherever you are standing. Okay. Now I unrolled this just a little bit uneven, so I'm going to go ahead and just use my hands and center the dough back onto the pie plate. And as you can see, it's larger than the pie plate, and that's what you want because it has to go inside. We're going to take the excess off. I'm just going to use my scraper there to cut it off. You can use scissors or you can use a knife. And guys, I don't throw away my scraps. Today I'm going to use some of them to make a decoration for the top of my pie, but the other part I'm going to put back into saran wrap, make a small disc out of it, and I'm going to actually freeze it. I use the scraps so that when I wake up on a Saturday or a weekend morning or any day for that fact, and I just want a little something sweet, you know, a little apple tart or peach tart or whatever I may have, blueberry, my crust is done. All I have to do is sit it out on the counter for about 15 or 20 minutes, roll it out, put my filling in it, and pop it in the oven. And we are set to go. Nice cup of coffee, and they make just the most delicious hand pies. So don't throw those scraps away, guys. Believe it or not, it only takes a small amount to make a hand pie. So I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to put it back in saran wrap, and it's going into the freezer. Okay, now that we have this all done, we can get our apples ready to fill our pie up with. Okay, guys, I have Pink Lady apples here. I am using about 4 Pink Lady apples. These are large apples. You can use Granny Smith apples, green apples. It just depends on the sweetness that you want. Also, the sweetness of the apple is going to determine how much sugar you put in there. So I'm using Pink Lady apples. They're typically a sweeter apple, so I'll only be using about 1/4 of a cup of regular sugar to add to it. Now you don't have to add any sugar at all because sometimes the apples are just sweet enough. I like to add a little bit extra sugar to most of my pies just to give it just a little bit more sweetness. So I'm going to just make these into slices. There is no need to cook these apples before we fill the pie. I have slices here, and I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of these apples sliced up, and we'll be back. Okay guys, our apples are all sliced up. Now we're going to be adding sugar to them. Again, this is organic cane juice that I'm adding, and it's about 1/4 of a cup. I do it all the time, so I'm just shaking it in. I know about how much I'm putting in, but feel free to measure. And I'm going to add about 1.5 tablespoons of cinnamon to the apples as well. Also guys, I am going to be adding about 3 or 4 tablespoons of flour. The flour will actually thicken the juices, and when you cut the pie, it won't be runny, but it'll be nice and thick inside. And I'm going to use the 1/2 of a lemon. Going to put the juice in here as well. This is 1/2 of a lemon, and I'm just squeezing it through a strainer so that I can catch all the seeds and I won't have to do any separating at all. Okay guys, now all we need to do is get this completely combined. Just make sure you stir it completely so that all the apples are covered with the cinnamon mixture. All right, now we're ready to fill our pie shell. And guys, I'm putting quite a bit of apples in here. They're going to cook down. And so they're going to, by having so many apples in here, when it cooks down and we cut our pie, and I'll have a slice cut at the end of the video that you guys can take a look at. But what happens is when you have quite a bit of apples in here piled up like this and they cook down, when you cut the pie, you still have a nice thick slice all the way through. They don't sink down and shrink so much that you have this little bitty thin piece of pie. All right, guys. Yeah, so now guys, we're ready to roll out the top half of our pie crust. Just gonna unwrap it, and I'm gonna go through this really quick here. Get this rolled out so that we can put it right on top just like we did the other one, rolling it up on our rolling pin and rolling it back out on top of the dough. Now we have our top pie crust ready to go, so I need to get my butter on here, and I'm just going to put probably about 2 tablespoons total of butter on top. This will melt into the pie, and I'm just going to dot it all around, and it'll help thicken up those juices, adding flavor as well. So you just want to put it all over. Okay, now we can go ahead and put the top dough on our pie crust. And again, as you can see, it's hanging over, so we're going to cut the edges off. Now the edges that I cut off of the top half, and again some of the bottom half, we're going to make some decoration for the top of our pie with that. So I won't need to freeze all of it. I'll still have some to freeze for a hand pie later, but some of this we're going to use for decoration. Now, once you get it all trimmed up, you just want to take the edges and tuck them underneath, sitting them on top of the edge of your pie plate. Just tuck them under, and then after we get them all tucked under, we're going to go around the whole pie crust again and crimp it with our fingers. So I am just going around the edge, crimping it with my fingers. I am using my 2 fingers on my left hand to just press in between my index finger on my right hand. So we're just going around it, crimping it. You can also do this with a fork as well. You can just take a fork and crimp it all the way around the edges. That'll work too. All right, guys, now for this little piece of dough I have here, I'm going to make an apple to put on top of the pie crust. So we're going to just roll this dough out very thin because we don't want a thick piece of dough because it's going to lay on top of more dough. So we don't want to have a big piece of thick dough right in the middle of our pie. So I'm going to roll it out pretty thin, and then I'm just going to hand form the apple, hand form a couple of leaves, and put it on top. Then after that, guys, we'll be ready for the oven. Now when we get ready to go into the oven, we're actually going to put our pie on another baking sheet just in case it runs over. We want to make sure it doesn't do too much running over. And we're going to bake it at 450 degrees for about 10 minutes. Then we're going to turn our oven down to 350 degrees and bake it for another 40 to 45 minutes, keeping an eye on it at the 30-minute mark to make sure our edges aren't browning too much. Everyone's oven is different, so if you find that your edges are starting to brown quite a bit but your pie is not quite ready, go ahead and put some foil around the edges of your pie to prevent it from over browning before your pie is actually done. Okay, guys, now I'm going to finish up this decoration and we'll be back. All right, guys, we are ready to go into the oven. I'm just going to make sure that my leaf and my apple here is connected to the other part of the dough. So I'm just pressing down gently. Want to make some vents in it to release that steam. So I'm making 4 slits, 1 on each side of the pie. Then after that, guys, we are ready for baking our apple pie. I'm going to put it on another tray so it won't run over in the oven, and we'll be back when we're all done. Yes, we are out of the oven, guys. Now I just like to brush the top of my pies with a little butter. I typically don't put an egg wash on top of them. You can. I just like to brush mine with butter when they come out. I think it adds just one more layer of flavor. And I like the way that it looks. It's not too shiny. It's not too sugary. It's just a nice, simple, buttery dough that's nice and flaky. You'll see, guys, in a minute. Here is a slice. All right. Take a look at that slice, guys. See the flakiness in the crust? You can see the layers and the thickness of the pie from all those apples we put in there. Guys, I love it when you come and hang out and cook with me. Thank you so much. And if you guys like these how-to videos, subscribe so that you won't miss any of my videos, and tap the bell so you'll always be notified every time I upload a new one. Guys, leave me some comments and give me a thumbs up. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. It's such a joy to cook with you guys each and every time. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.